Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. If you've been around this show for a while, first, I just want to say thank you. I mean, genuinely, I was looking back, talking with somebody the other day. I've been running this show for 11 years, not because it makes me some massive millionaire. It's because, one, I love to learn and share. Two, I love to connect and network through all the amazing guests that I've had on the show over the last 11 years. And three, I love to connect with so many of you. I mean, there's so many brilliant people out there that listen to this show that I learned from, that I've invested with, that have invested with me. So I just want to say thank you. And if you're new here, perfect timing. Because what I'm about to share with you over the next few episodes is going to be some of what I think is some of my most important content I've ever put out. I've been quiet for a while, and I want to be straight with you about why. This wasn't burnout, it wasn't distraction, it was honestly actually focus. Kind of sometimes I believe you got to get smaller. You got to shrink a little bit in order to expand. And one of the biggest things for me was just shrinking the distractions. A lot of things that I was being pulled in different directions on, I really had to stop and, take a look at and like ask myself, were these things really aligned with the life, the business, the income that I was looking to build? And I had some big projects that I knew were going to require a lot of me. And I knew that I was probably going to lose some downloads, some followers and listeners. And that was definitely the result in some capacity. And yet I gained so much. I mean, my family and my marriage and everything is thriving on that front. It's honestly always been really strong, but it's better than I could honestly hope for. And I have been doubled down on my shopping center project, which I'll expand a little bit more on that with TJ Maxx and Harbor Freight, the mobile home park, launching the Imagos Income Fund, which many of you have reached out about for, doing my first fund of generating passive income for people, basically being, a private hard money lender, giving loans on collateralized assets that I understand. So some things that, I was bummed to not be sharing as much on social media and even on the podcast. Of course, Ryan and I have always continued to do the Wednesday episodes on market updates, on stocks, real estate, crypto, all that good stuff. But I'm ready to get back in the game and start to share some of the things that we've been focusing on, because I have been deep diving into something that I didn't want to talk about until I fully understood it well enough. I didn't want to waste your time, of course, because the last thing I want to do is come back to the microphone and just give surface level takes like I believe a lot of people do, is they talk on shit that they don't know. And one of the things that I've really been focusing on is something that I believe in, that is happening right now, and that I believe is going to be the future of investing in many ways. In my opinion, it's what I believe is the single biggest shift in how real estate is going to get owned, is going to be financed, and is going to get traded in our lifetimes. And that is none other than tokenization. And before you roll your eyes and you go, okay, this is, another crypto buzz hot word, I think after you hear a little bit more in today's episode, you'll maybe feel a little bit differently, because I really thought the same thing, like, oh, this is just another crypto guy trying to talk about tokenization and da-da-da. But really, as you guys know me, right? I've been a real estate investor my entire career. When I graduated from college, the only thing I knew, I fell into flipping houses, then buying fourplexes, then transitioning and buying my first shopping center, then buying my hotels, and then expanding my portfolio and staying in the commercial real estate vein. And I will not break away from the commercial real estate vein. This is something that I believe is a bolt-on, is not even only a bolt-on, it is the underlying foundation and the rails in which business, ownership, transactions will all be done on. And so when I saw this, it was when it clicked for me, it was one of those things you just kind of can't unsee. And I'm sure a lot of people who felt this way about the internet or felt this way about certain things, right? AI, whatever it may be, that when you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And I became somewhat obsessed with it. So I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. Why does tokenization matter right now, and what I'm personally focused on and doing about it going forward. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm so excited to announce if you are an investor looking to generate consistent passive income, then I've got something for you. I just launched the Imagos Income Fund. It is a private investment debt fund. So instead of relying on long-term appreciation or big exit events like most real estate syndications do, we decided to keep it simple, focused on first position asset-backed lending, just like a bank, meaning your investment is backed by real collateral and structured to produce income from day one. The target return, 10% paid out annually and also paid out monthly. So no guesswork, real passive returns, true mailbox money. And because we're in the debt position, not equity, we're able to prioritize downside protection, maintain shorter durations, and stay in control of the risk, which is most important in environments like this. This is built for investors who want steady cash flow, strong capital preservation, and real asset exposure without the headaches of owning, managing, and waiting years for a payoff. So if this resonates with you, if you want to learn more, I put together a full investor presentation breaking everything down. All you got to do is just text the word income to 844-447-1555. That's income to 844-447-1555. I'll send you everything so you can see if it's a fit for your portfolio. So my first, core argument around this topic is tokenization is not just some hot crypto story. Like tokenization, it is a liquidity story. And illiquidity has always been this hidden tax, this big burden on every real estate investor's portfolio, one that most people accept as the costs of doing business and owning real estate without ever really questioning whether it has to be that way. And the beauty is with tokenization, it doesn't have to be that way, at least not anymore. So let's just kind of set the table on this real fast. What I want to, just kind of give you a quick setting of the table so you can understand kind of what led me into this space is, I've been focusing on the mobile home park and stabilizing the mobile if I can talk, mobile home park. I've been focused on the shopping center and stabilizing the shopping center and getting these big tenants like TJ Maxx and Harbor Freight coming online in lease hell, to be totally honest. But I knew it was something I need to learn and master, in order to bring highly valuable tenants and income to my centers so I could inflate the value and the income and really like negotiate with the top tier tenants of the world, right? So I didn't go quiet because I ran out of things to say. I went quiet because I was just in the work. I was just in the trenches, sludging away. And, that's what I believe like true operators and people who want to understand and master their craft need to do. So I did it. Now that being said, there is, I don't want to say it's a pivot happening in the finance, in the real world asset, ecosystem happening right now, but there is. I think we're entering a new chapter of finance that is going to change the way we think and do and own things forever. So if you've been listening to this show to get smarter about real estate and investing, well, the good news is I think by learning tokenization, this is going to be something that is going to give you just another tool in your toolkit, another, piece of alpha, an edge of where this industry is going. And I want to take you guys with me because at the end of the day, I'm a student of life. I'm always looking to learn and grow and expand myself. And this is one of those things that I really believe, I believe we're going to look back in decades of time and say, that was the moment it all changed. I looked at the landscape. I've done the research. I've talked to a lot of big players that are really early movers and shakers in this particular space. And I decided to make a decision that I am betting real time, real capital, and real reputation on this being the direction. This is not just some casual endorsement of like, I think tokenization might be around in the future. I am convinced that this will be the way. Now there's some nuances and there's some things that still need to get, flushed out, but tokenization is the way. You're already seeing it happen in, big finance, right? Even in banking. And I believe real estate, especially with how slow and archaic the industry is, it might take some time, but it is for sure going to happen. So let's talk about number one, why is this going to happen? Well, innovation happens because of pain points. And one of the biggest pain points in real estate is illiquidity. It's a hidden tax. It's not a feature, right? Every commercial real estate investor, or really every investor in real estate in general, has been told that illiquidity is the price of admission, right? Just think of it more like a slow growth bond that, the reason real estate pays better than stocks is precisely because you can't sell it overnight. You just can't click a button, right? Less volatility. But there's some pros and cons with that. Yes, that's true, but there's a difference between accepting a liquidity as a trade-off and being trapped by it, which is when things move against you, like we've seen with interest rates going up and inventory going up and cap rates expanding and income dropping, values dropping, things can move quickly against you and you can be trapped by it. And most investors, a lot of people right now, why we've seen this freeze and this staleness in the real estate market is because many investors are trapped. Many realize it, many don't realize it. I'll give you an example. You own a $5 million shopping center, it's performing, the NOI is strong, but your equity is locked. Your equity doesn't pay your bills. Your equity doesn't give you free cash flow to go and invest in other things. It is locked up. Now, it can sit on your balance sheet and that can bring you some advantages, but you can't access it without selling or doing a cash out refi. And in today's rate environment, the refi might cost you more than it's actually worth. That's equity, right? That you have in there just sitting there. It's working, but in many ways, it's not a real tool, an edge, alpha. It's invisible to you in certain ways. Now, point number two is the capital formation problem for operators. Let's flip it to the operator side for a quick second. If you've been somebody who's raised capital before, you know what it costs, right? 6 months of shaking the tin can and the dog and pony show, placement fees, going back and forth with attorneys. If you're syndicating, you're going through the SEC process, you're burning through your Rolodex, and you're starting from zero almost on every deal, right? And the current model rewards the intermediaries, not necessarily the operators or the investors. So this is something that I think is really important to think about because tokenization is going to disrupt that as well. Now, why this moment is different, in my opinion, is something changed in the last 3 to 4 years. Something changed that didn't exist before. The infrastructure to solve this problem of illiquidity, of the capital stack, of compliance, of transparency. The infrastructure to solve this problem is now real. It's now legally compliant. It's now operational and available to utilize. So this is no longer theoretical like it was in previous years. This isn't just some white paper or idea that people are hoping comes to life. You've got companies out there like TZERO that have processed over 200 million in commercial real estate tokenizations. Deloitte is projecting 4 trillion in tokenized real estate assets by 2035. That's going to be here before we know it. Examples like the St. Regis of Aspen, they tokenized their equity portion of the capital stack in 2018. And guess what? That token is up 3x already. So this is already happening. So the question is whether you're going to be early or late. And I believe it's still very early in this process, but not that early. I mean, this could be 12, 18 months until we start to see real mass adoption in this particular space. And I want to position myself at the front of that. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the educational points behind this. Tokenization is taking the ownership interest in a real asset, whether that's your equity, whether that's the debt, whether that's a preferred return, and it is representing it as a digital security on a blockchain. That's as simple as I could state it. The asset doesn't change. The law doesn't change. The economics don't change. The only thing that changes is the infrastructure that records and transfers ownership. And we all know that the way it's done now is costly, it's slow, it's not transparent, there's too many hands in the pot, and it really is archaic infrastructure. You know, I'll give you an analogy to maybe tie this or give you a better picture of it. Stock certificates used to be paper, right? Then they became electronic entries in a ledger. Well, tokenization is the next version of that ledger, one that is way faster, more transparent, more portable, and much more programmable. So let me tell you what it's not. And what it's not is it's not some like brand new asset class that people are going to have to understand and wrap their hands around. Like the shopping center that I own is still a shopping center, right? It's not a cryptocurrency. The token is a security. It follows the same laws as a traditional LP interest, like syndications are done today. It's not speculative. The value comes from the underlying asset's performance, right? The occupancy levels, the cap rate, how much net operating income is it kicking off? The same things that you've always underwritten and understood as, you know, an LP or a real estate investor, those things don't change. The token is just the wrapper around it all. The building is still the product, but the token is what encompasses the product. That makes sense. So let's translate this maybe into the capital stack. Senior debt. In the capital stack, the senior debt, right, is always paid out first. That's unchanged. It still sits at the top. It still has its first lien position. Then let's say you've got preferred equity that needs to get paid out first. That can be tokenized. Investors buy traditional preferred equity tranches, right? Well, you can tokenize that now. Common equity, the general partners that are coming in and bringing in the common equity, that can be tokenized. So GP and LP interest represented in the capital stack can be done the exact same way, just done digitally. And the ATS, this is the new piece. And what the ATS stands for is an alternative trading system. This is a SEC regulated secondary market for private securities. So now you have a secondary market that creates liquidity for anybody that owns that token that they can go and sell on the alternative trading system. And I'll expand on this a little bit more because this is where kind of you got to take some time to digest this and understand this, but this is where the liquidity piece comes from. So this is what gives token holders of whatever token you purchased in that capital stack that's tied to that particular asset. This is what gives the token holders an eventual exit that traditional LP investors currently right now don't have. So this is the liquidity component here. So let's talk about who is currently focused on this type of asset or tokenization or using this process and system. You know, right now, there's not a lot of people using it. It's still very early, right? And so this is where I see there needing to be more adoption and more education. And I want to be one of those people that's going to help educate. I want to be one of those people that is tokenizing my assets, to be totally frank. And that's something that I'm exploring and working on right now, which there'll be more to come on that in the future. But, you know, the people creating the content about tokenization right now are the most tech-friendly, you know, more techie people. They're not real estate people. They've never signed a lease. They are generally crypto investors who have never underwritten a cap rate or invested in a commercial real estate asset or syndication. So nobody is really talking about this in the real estate space at a really high level. Nobody who is talking about this space has actually, in my opinion, closed any real substantial real estate deals. They've never probably managed a tenant. They've never structured a capital raise from scratch. So that's the gap that we're working on filling here with some of the things that we're focused on. I think one of the things too that's really important is having that operator's advantage, right? I mean, I've been a commercial real estate asset owner and operator my whole life. I've not been a passive investor. I've been in the trenches, get my ass kicked in many good ways, right, over the last 15 years of my real estate investing journey. So I understand the asset classes in which I'm going to focus on tokenizing. I understand how to put together capital stacks and engineer financials that make sense for not only the general partners, but for the investors coming in, for the banks that are putting debt on these things, right? So understanding all of these things is really important. And then, of course, understanding the regulatory nuance around private placements, that's something that's important. So these are things that I've been heavily focused on because these are all critical components and building blocks of how tokenization is going to tie all of this together. And tokenization is just the new rail that I'm putting into my existing expertise stack, let's call it. Now, this is where I think the urgency comes from. I'll give you a SpaceX analogy if this maybe resonates. The operators who show up in the first window own the brand equity, right? I mean, think of the Airbnb hosts in 2012, right? They were the very early people on the platform, but those were the people that actually ended up dominating on the platform long term. And they were early movers, right? The people who moved then built the reviews and the algorithms and the reputation before the platform really blew up and got saturated. The people who moved in 2017, 2018, 2020, they were a little bit late to the space and it had already blown up then. So I'm planting my flag now. And I'm inviting you guys to join me on that journey if this is something that resonates with you. So one of the things that I want to put my money where my mouth is I want to focus on tokenizing one of my upcoming assets or one of the assets that I already own. I'm thinking about doing the retail shopping center, being that, we've got the national credit tenants with TJ Maxx and Harbor Freight coming in, working on a couple others that I don't want to speak too soon on until we get those finalized. But this would be a good asset because it's stabilized, it's clean, there's a yield story. Any institutional investor can underwrite with those types of tenants. And when the build outs are complete, I intend to be one of the first commercial real estate operators in the country to take that asset through a tokenized offering. Now, whether it's not that one, or maybe it's one of the other ones that I own, or maybe it's one that I'd buy going forward, I want to connect with the people that are looking to do this, one on maybe your own assets, because this is something that we might be able to help you with, or that you want to collaborate on and brainstorm on, because there's really not that many communities out there focused on tokenization, specifically in the real estate space. So if this is something that you want to connect on, shoot me a text, 844-447-1555, and just type in the word tokenize. You're not going to get anything special or back. It's just basically alerting me like, hey, I'm interested in this, and I will respond and focus on this with you. One of the things that we are thinking about, I don't know if I want to share this quite yet, but we're thinking of creating basically a private network for sophisticated real estate investors and operators who want to be positioned at this intersection before it becomes mainstream. So, tokenizing your own assets, obviously education, mastermind, access, investment opportunities, basically an elite kind of network that is hard to get into and valuable to be in, that is really focused on tokenization in real estate. So again, text tokenize 844-447-1555 if this is something that is of interest to you. But that being said, I just want to say thank you guys for coming on this journey with me. We're going to be talking about, in upcoming episodes, the real numbers behind real estate tokenization, what has actually traded, what has performed, what the challenges still are, what the technicals of this space are looking like. We're going to go through a lot of different things. I'm going to be working to bring on resources and people from, let's call it the TZEROs and the Red Swans and some of the big advanced tokenization infrastructure companies that are already out there, and really just try and make this a space for being a resource on that particular topic. So, as always, appreciate you guys, supporting the show, supporting me, and just overall, being engaged in this journey of building wealth together. And again, whether it's real estate investment tokenizations, whether it's tokenization in the stock market, whether it's tokenization in so many different things, I think just understanding the concepts around this are going to be really critical and important. So that's all I got for you guys on today's show. Thanks for welcoming me back. As always, if you're interested in the Imagos Income Fund, we are open. If you want to learn more about what that is, just type in the word income or text the word income to 844-447-1555. You'll get kind of the deck. Just a quick little short one pager. It's basically you're becoming the bank with us. You're partnering with us to become the bank and become first position on collateralized assets that we can generate monthly income from and pay that out to you on a monthly or quarterly basis, whichever is preferred to you. And right now, instead of the big sexy pro formas and returns that many people are focused on, or really unfortunately have gotten burned by or haven't panned out accordingly, this is the safe, boring, secured fund structure that will just generate some consistent cash flow and mailbox money. So as always, keep investing in yourself and your wealth on your march to $1 million and beyond. We'll see you guys in next week's episode. Cheers. Well, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, you guys know this show would not be what it is without you, the amazing listener, the support, sharing this out with other people who can gain value from it, taking 60 seconds to leave a review. If you haven't done so already, those things mean the world to us and ultimately help us spread this message out to as many people as we possibly can to help them on their wealth building journey. If you have any particular links or resources that you're trying to track down that were mentioned in this interview, be sure to check out this episode at millionairemindcast.com, where you can find access to all that information. And of course, if you haven't checked out the Wise Investor Vault yet, be sure to head over to wiseinvestorvault.com to check out all the tools, all the resources, the checklists, the spreadsheets, the trackers, all kinds of amazing things that can help you on your wealth building journey at the wiseinvestorvault.com. If you haven't connected with me on social media yet, I'm consistently putting out more content, stories, value to help you on your wealth building journey. And one of the best and most exciting things for me on a weekly basis is getting to connect with you guys. Getting your DMs, hearing what things impacted you, what you need help with is a big way that we continue to drive the content for this show. So if we're not connected and following each other on Instagram, on social media at official Matty A, give me a like and a follow. Would love to connect with you there. And of course, don't forget to get on my deals list. If you're an accredited investor, you want to look at more deal flow. You want to see what deals I have access to, what deals I'm raising capital for. This is an exclusive list that I only put out to my accredited investor list, my Millionaire Mindcast family. So text the word deals to 844-447-1555. And with that being said, thank you again so much for supporting the show. Until next week's episode, keep investing in yourself and your wealth on your march to $1 million and beyond. Cheers.